Alright, hello everybody. Friendly Red here, ready as always to relay what upcoming new game releases have shown up on the radar. Summer is upon us, which means we've got lots of fun things to look forward to, especially for June, with the E3 gaming news showcases kicking off pretty soon here, and of course, plenty of new games that'll begin their whole existing thing this month too. So, before we get into it all, the usual disclaimer. Please keep in mind that release dates are always subject to change. What's presented in this video may be out of date by the time it is posted. Also, a bit of a bonus disclaimer. I'm putting together this video a bit in advance compared to when I would normally do so, as I'll be away on vacation starting right at the end of May. I'm not necessarily expecting any earth-shattering new reveals, delays, or anything like that to pop up between now and then that would affect this video in any big ways, but if there are changes or announcements that happen that aren't reflected here, then hopefully that explains why. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's get into the Red's radar for June of 2026. We begin our discussion proper with Calx, which launches on the 4th. This is the only game for this month that I didn't have any prior knowledge about, and like every other game that makes its way onto my radar via research for these videos, I'm quite happy to have learned about it. I've mentioned in some other Red's Radar videos this year that I've been in the mood for some 3D platformers, and Calx has quickly jumped to a high priority position, in regards to ones I want to play sooner, rather than later. The minimalist, cel-shaded look of the game instantly appealed to me as soon as I saw it, and the gameplay looks to borrow and mix together lots of great aspects and elements from other 3D action juggernauts, with flashy, bullet hell projectile dodging from games like Nier and Returnal, a combo of weighty hack-and-slash melee combat, mixed with third-person shooting, like what you would get with any of Platinum Games' games, and even a Metroid Prime-like scanning feature that gives you more details about the environment and its inhabitants around you. Everything looks to be aligning with this one, but I suppose we'll find out very soon if the developers at True Colors will deliver the goods in the end. I'm feeling pretty good about it, and hey, if you want to get a taste of the game before it releases, or before committing to a purchase, there is a demo out right now that you can try. Calx will be releasing on Thursday, June 4th, for PC. Moving on just about 2 weeks later, Denshattack releases on the 17th. Alright, so have you ever played something like the Pro Skater games or Jet Set Radio and thought to yourself, this is pretty fun, but you know what would make it better? I were grinding rails and tricking off ramps and slopes as a train. To be honest, I'm not sure exactly how or who could even come up with such a thought, but I suppose with over 8 billion people on the planet, any wild, crazy scenario or idea is really just an eventuality. All that to say, if you've been looking for a truly unique, wacky take on the skating game genre, look no further than Denshattack. Honestly, I feel like the gameplay really speaks for itself here, and I'm kind of struggling on meaningful insights or info to add. I will say though, I'm impressed with how well the developers got all this to work as well as it seemingly does. I mean, given that you control a train, which is normally stuck to a set track or rails, you'd think it would be rather limiting on how you could move around and pull off tricks. But there seems to be a good mix of on- and off-rail movement and trick potential. It doesn't seem like a very easy balance to get right, and I could imagine it potentially feeling too restricted compared to other, more conventional skating games. But with everything I'm seeing, that doesn't seem to be true for Denshattack. Based on the feedback for the demo that's out, it seems that I'm not alone in that sentiment. Denshattack will be releasing on Wednesday, June 17th, for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. Closing out the priority pickups just a little over a week later, on the 25th, is Star Fox. After lots of rumors and rumblings of an imminent announcement and release of something new Star Fox related, we finally got exactly that early last month, as Nintendo decided to announce, showcase, and set the release date for this new Star Fox game, all in one fell swoop. And personally, I'm quite excited for this one. Yes, this being yet another retread of the Lylat War story from the original Star Fox 64 and Star Fox 64 3D doesn't exactly make this new game the most exciting for returning players and fans, especially considering that, unlike Star Fox Zero, this one looks to stay wholly true to the layouts and gameplay of those aforementioned titles, whereas Star Fox Zero at least had some new mechanics and shakeups in it to the story and stages. I can understand it being somewhat deflating, but at the same time, it's been over a decade since the last Star Fox game, and if we're being real here, close to 3 decades since the last truly mainstream and popular game in the franchise, that being Star Fox 64, which is still beloved by many to this day. So I can kind of understand Nintendo's mentality of bringing the series back to the masses with arguably its best game. even though Assault is better. And hey, even though the bulk of what's going to be in this Switch 2 refresh of Star Fox is mostly a known quantity, we do have some nice new aspects to look forward to. Obviously, the graphical uplift from 64 to Switch 2 is insanely amazing looking, and based on what we've seen, I think that this new Star Fox game sits right alongside the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 as one of the best looking games you can play on the platform. On a related note to the visual overhaul, I also personally quite like the new character designs. Yes, there are some quirks and oddities to some aspects of their designs, but I think I'll get used to them over time. And as a whole, I think that the core Star Fox crew looks great here. And we'll actually get to see more of and spend more time with said core crew in this game, as there will be extra story segments and dialogue via new cutscenes added in, as well as some expanded multiplayer offerings, which you can play locally via the Switch 2 Game Share feature, or online via the power of the internet. A bit of a shame it doesn't seem to support local split-screen multiplayer, like the Nintendo 64 game, but I guess it's not all too surprising, as more and more games these days focus on online multiplayer over couch co-op or competitive play. Overall, Star Fox on Switch 2 probably isn't the game longtime fans were necessarily wanting after all this time, especially considering how many different variants and versions of this story we've played through over the years. But it's still great to see the franchise come back, looking better than ever, and also reaching a much wider audience than ever before, thanks to the popularity of the Switch and Switch 2, and a recent surge or resurgence of interest in the brand and characters of Star Fox, thanks to a certain animated feature that released back in April. Star Fox will be releasing on Thursday, June 25th, exclusively for Nintendo Switch 2. Moving on into the honorable mentions, first up on the 5th is the Gothic 1 remake. As the name would quite plainly spell out, this is a remake of the original Gothic game from 2001, which, I'll be honest, I know very little about and have not played myself. I don't know, this one has been a bit more of a passive, in the background interest for me, and it still kind of is, even with its release occurring so soon. I do quite like me some dark fantasy action RPGs though, and the Gothic 1 remake looks to be a pretty competent looking one, based on what I'm seeing, reminding me of stuff like Kingdoms of Amalur, or the recent Oblivion remaster. I'm sure I'll really dig this one whenever I decide to give it a go, and for the longtime Gothic fans out there, I hope you guys enjoy and have fun, and that this remake does justice to the original game. This one will be out for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. Next on the 18th, we've got two honorable mentions to mention, the first one being Hell Let Loose, Vietnam. Like the original Hell Let Loose, and similar to the Battlefield series of games, Hell Let Loose Vietnam puts you feet first into intense infantry and vehicle-heavy first-person shooter combat, but this time in an arguably more interesting time/warfare period than the original Hell Let Loose or something like Battlefield 5. Don't be mistaken, I've greatly enjoyed all of the World War II era games I've played, but there's something just a bit more inherently interesting about the Vietnam War era to me, though I don't exactly know why. It's probably just because, in comparison to World War II, there haven't been nearly as many games over the years that tackle the era, so I guess it's just more interesting to me to get to see and experience the different hardware, weaponry, and locales of the Vietnam War era compared to World War II. I'm still uncertain if I'm going to get this one as soon as it's out, as I'm mainly waiting to see if some of my friends might be interested in playing it too, as I prefer to squad up and play this, rather than go at it alone. Regardless, it looks pretty fun, and if some of my friends are interested, and the launch impressions are good, then I'll more than likely be getting acquainted with Hell Let Loose here soon. This one will be out for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. As for the second honorable mention for the 18th, that honor goes to The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennium Tales. Similar to the Gothic 1 remake, The Adventures of Elliot has been a bit more of a passive interest for me, despite really enjoying the demo of it I played last year after the game was revealed. The HD 2D style remains just as lovely to behold as it's always been, and the gameplay in this one really clicked for me, being an action RPG that plays very similarly to the top-down 2D Zelda games or the older Ys games. So yeah, the game looks great, and it plays great too. Well, based on the demo anyway. But I don't know, there's nothing that's really urging me to want to play this one as soon as possible, and I don't really know why. Hence it gets added to the honorable mentions. This one will be out for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. And as a last-minute addition here, Shift at Midnight, which I talked about in my Reds Radar for May, will also be releasing on the 18th now, after getting delayed shortly before it was planned to release on May 28th. I don't really have a lot else to add here to what I already talked about regarding the game last month, though the official update about the delay for the game promises some exciting things, in addition to further polish for the full release, so it's good to know that the little bit of extra time the game will get before launch is being put to good use. This one will be out for PC. And that'll do it for another Red's Radar. Looking over it all, I'd say we've got a pretty nice little platter of new releases to kick off the summer season, in addition to the whole suite of brand new updates and announcements to games both known and unknown we'll be getting during the E3 gaming showcases. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video though, I will be away for a vacation during the time when all of the major shows will be occurring, so I'll be a bit late to the reporting party this year compared to last. I'm definitely looking forward to sifting through all the news and trailers once I'm back, and I hope the showcases will be enjoyable for all of you who will be watching them as they premiere. But with all that being said, I think that'll do it for this video. If you made it to the end, I thank you for watching. Your continued viewership and support is greatly appreciated. I hope I was able to entertain, inform, and perhaps interest you in some upcoming games you may not have known about. And last, but certainly not least, as always, I'll see you next time.